First, I call him the mobile real estate encyclopedia.
Another very, very important factor is the exit strategy. If not, we had cases of JVs that were signed for 3-4 years. Yes, it's the ongoing litigation.
Liquidity of the developer. Without the developer being liquid, there are a lot of issues. In fact, the developer is actually like 90% of JV problems that have gone wrong. Yeah. Okay, so the track record of the developer is very important. What past projects has he commenced and delivered?
Welcome again to the Real Deal Naija podcast. As usual on this podcast, we are unbundling everything around Africa's largest real estate market. This episode is very dear to me because I have my day one G's with me. I have with me here Mr. Okechukwu and Mr. Frankie. I love the way you wrote the Frankie on your hat. Thank you for joining me again. So on this episode, we are going to be talking about something really interesting, something that has created conflict among partners in real estate industry, especially when it comes to doing business together. Today, we will be demystifying joint venture investment. We're going to be looking at the profit and the pitfalls. And of course, these two men did justice to previous episodes, and this episode is not going to be any different. So let us dive straight. I'm going to start with you first. I call him the mobile real estate encyclopedia.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir. All right, so can you tell us briefly how a typical real estate joint venture project works? Who are the key players and what roles do these people play?
Okay. Firstly, a joint venture arrangement is a business transaction between the landowner and a financier who has the expertise and funds to embark on such a project. So it simply works this way. The landowner provides his property, and then the financier provides the expertise and finance to construct. And at the end of the day, the units are shared. The number of units are shared based on what their contract says.
Okay.
But there are also preconditions before you can get into a joint venture arrangement. For example, the owner of the land has to get evaluation or reports on the value of that land. The developer also has to get a bill of quantity. Now, a bill of quantity is something a document that tells you, from A to Z, what it will cost to embark on that project. So they put this side by side, and then the profit sharing method comes out. But again, there has been instances where how do I put this? There's a logjam, in the sense that if the landlord and the developer has to share between 60-40, there are about 11 units. So when you have 11 units, what now happens? They take 60-40 as per the 10 units, and then 60-40 in percentage terms for the remaining units.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what joint venture arrangement is.
Okay. So who are the key players, right? You've answered that. And what roles do these people play? Okay,
the key players are majorly the landowner and the developer.
Okay.
And then by extension, there's the land surveyor who does the valuation, and then there's quantity surveyor who does the BOQ, the bill of quantity.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Frankie.
Pleasure once again.
All right. So tell us what the common pitfalls you have observed in joint venture projects are.
Well, basically, joint venture seems to be a very fast-growing sector of the real estate, especially on the island axis. But what I've discovered, there seems to be a problem with both parties. It relates to the sharing formula. Oftentimes, if it's not clearly stated or outlined in the agreement, there's always a breach, maybe from the owner or the developer. So it's very important that the owner and the developer outline that clearly with the guidance of a legal person. So if it's clearly stated, we're good to go. But most times, if it's not clearly stated, that seems to be a recurring decimal in the joint venture transactions. Then secondly, another very, very important factor is the exit strategy. Yeah, because as a developer, you also need to protect yourself from unforeseen circumstances. Not basically, it might not be your fault, or the owner also has to protect himself too. So there must be an exit clause when you're signing a JV agreement that protects your interests or developer's own too. So those are things that cause this problem when it comes to joint venture. And then also, most agreements too don't state decision making. You need to have who takes those kind of decisions. Fundamental, very, very important. So those decisions, if it's not also outlined in the agreement, can further hamper the joint venture. So it's always good to, very, very important to outline it in the agreement. Yeah. Very important. And also, finally, there's another one called risk allocation. It must also be outlined. So those those factors and some other ones tend to be the pitfalls when it comes to joint venture deals. Based on my experiences, anyway.
All right, Mr. Okechukwu. So, Mr. Frank has helped us to identify some of the pitfalls, right? Yes. Now, so in your experience, how often do disputes arise as a result of poorly structured agreements and other critical issues?
Okay, they're always arising because lawyers do not actually understand what the JV arrangement is, and so because of that, agreements are poorly structured. For example, if I was to advise a landlord who wants to engage in a joint venture arrangement with a developer, I would advise him to have a special purpose vehicle where the developer has to provide proof of funds and even deposit that sum, the whole construction sum in an account whereby the developer and the landowner will be signatories to that particular transaction. The reason is that most developers, due to paucity of funds, go in, sign agreements, and do not move to site, hoping to get funds from off-plan off-takers. And when those arrangements fail, the land is left fallow. The landlord cannot disengage from such an agreement because there's no exit strategy in the agreement. So I think lawyers have to be well informed to how do I put it? Prepare agreements in such a way that it protects all parties involved.
So one would think that with JV, just what most people do. So you're saying now that word of mouth or personal relationship trust is not solid enough for. All right. Okay, Mr. Frank, can you walk us through an example on successful joint venture projects? What factors contributed to the success of this project and what could have possibly gone wrong? Okay,
I think the fundamental thing when it comes to JVs, everybody having a defined role. The owner should not be sentimental. He owns the land, it has equity. There's an equity ratio which the owner owns as a virtue of his partnership. Also, the developer has his equity, which is funding and expertise. So if it's clearly defined from both parties, this is what comes to you. If it's 50-50, 60-40, depending on the ratio, based on vis-a-vis the land value and the developer's equity, which is funding. If it's clearly defined, black and white, let me use your language, dot the T's, dot the I's and cross the T's. It's very fundamental. Once you have that, and also clear responsibilities are stated also in the agreement, and also you have a good marketing team. That's where we come into. Okay. And also do your due diligence. Some owners might have quote unquote issues on the land. So you as a developer, you have to do your due diligence by also investigating the background of the owner. It's very important. And also you should also be your risk. There's always risk in every business. most especially a joint venture. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the owner might have financial constraint or delays comes to funding. So you as the owner, you have to protect your interests too. But also stating it clearly that in the case, situation whereby the funding is not forthcoming from the developer side, how do I exit this? If not, we had cases of JVs that were signed for 3-4 years. Yes, it's the ongoing litigation. So because they were not clearly defined, yeah? So that's a challenge. So it's very essential, very, 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 very important that you define your roles and responsibilities in every JV agreement, because that's in fact that's the fundamentals of any JV agreement. It protects everybody. You can work out easily because see, I've had issues whereby there's a JV I signed, I think sometime last year, around the last one, Kate. The developer unfortunately met a roadblock in terms of funding due to this. I think there was a lockdown or something that period. So it was not forthcoming, and the owner wanted to exit. Luckily, there was a clause. There was an exit clause. It's called an exit clause, where both parties can exit. Very, very smoothly without any friction. But it must be contained in the agreement. So that way, all parties nobody will feel sidelined or cheated. That's just the best way. Most of the successful JVs that I've conducted, have done, by God's grace, it has always been clearly stated. The agreement is very fundamental to success of any joint venture. There are 3 fundamentals when it comes to JVs. Okay. Clarity, okay. Fairness, that's balance, equity. Then lastly, also importantly too, is what's it called? Flexibility. Flexibility in terms of exit clause is very important, because the only way, the worst thing that can happen to any developer or owner is to sign a JV agreement without having an exit clause. You're gone. Yeah, you're tied on. You could be on that land for forever. Yeah, so it's very, 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 very important to have those 3 elements: clarity, fairness, and
flexibility.
Yeah.
All right, so we have clarity, fairness, and flexibility. With all of this, a joint venture agreement is already set to sail. Now, Mr. Oke, tell us, what strategies have you found to be effective in building buyer confidence in joint venture projects in a low trust environment like our Naija?
Okay, so the track record of the developer is very important. What past projects has he commenced and delivered? Does he allocate? Because most developers also do not allocate properties for reasons best known to them.
All right, sir. So from a realtor perspective, right, in your opinion, now do you think realtors should be brought in at the earlier planning phase to help strategize the terms vis-a-vis the customer's trends?
100%, I agree, because marketers or agents are a very fundamental part of any successful real estate project. So you need their input as regards marketing. So, because I've had experiences whereby we go for developers actually call us and ask for input. They're like, "What do you think? I want to build something around this area. What do you think about the markets there?" They are able to access good information that will guide their moves, next move in the project as regards the project. So, marketers are very powerful in this industry, real estate, but you cannot overemphasize their importance, because they're able to determine where the developer goes most times. Yeah, I've had personal experience like, yeah, they seek their input. What do you think? I want to do a project in the social and so area. What's your input? And the marketer will tell them, no, don't go there. It's not a good area. It's a tough sell. So they are very important in the marketing process of real estate. In fact, they're a core factor. So any developer that knows the sort should always carry marketers or agents along in their respective projects. So that's basically because they have a vibe of the market. They know what's trending. They are more on the streets. They've got more insights on real estate, more than even the developer. The developer is just a funder, a financier. So they are on the ground. They can tell you things that you might not even know. You'll be shocked as a developer. So it's very fundamental that you get good marketers that can assess and determine the market for you. That will also help you, so you don't go throwing money in fruitless projects. And so they are very essential. Marketers are very essential.
You heard that. Marketers are very, very essential. So carry them along from the initial phase because they have solid insight. All right, so tying the knot of this conversation now, Mr. Okay, tell us specifically what is that thing or what are certain factors that contribute to the success of a joint JV agreement, such that we've talked about exit plan, we've talked about fairness, flexibility, and all of that. So now, from a more professional aspect, tell us the specific thing that contributes to the success.
Okay. Liquidity of the developer. Without the developer being liquid, there are a lot of issues. In fact, the developer is actually like 90% of JV problems that have gone wrong. Yeah. Because without funding, you go in and execute an agreement with a landowner, not knowing where your funds are coming from, and hoping that you would have off-takers from the word go. And that fails also. And you tie down his land, and eventually when he wants to exit the arrangement, you go to court, get an injunction, and you say you spent 1 billion on consultation and all that. So liquidity is very important. As far as a developer is liquid, in terms of funds, the project will be successful, you know. But again, on the part of the landlord, the developer also has to conduct a proper due diligence on that property, because most properties are contextual, or they're in court, or they're being contested in court already, and you might not know, because there's no way to even know that a property has become the subject matter of a lawsuit. There's no way to know that. There's no way. If it's search, the normal search, you go to the lands registry, you can find out what's on the street and all that, but there's no way to know that this property is the subject matter of a lawsuit at this particular time until you move to site and then want to commence your job. So liquidity important, due diligence important. Then again, I always recommend that they have a special purpose vehicle for the purposes of that transaction. An SPV would help, you know, eliminate 99.9% of that problem. If when the developer says, oh, he's ready, presents his BOQ and his BOQ is 2 billion, the landowner should demand to see this 2 billion by showing proof of funds, and then go further to say, okay, let's open an account. We'll call it, for example, it could be 5 Oaks, for example, project. The money is there, and they're both signatories to that account. So when you get to a particular milestone, the developer meets the landlord and, oh, I need your signature on this. We're buying more materials, we're buying this. In that way, that project will be 100% successful.
Yes. I've learned something new today. The special purpose vehicle, relating it to tech, is like the two-factor authentication, just to make sure that the deal, the agreement is airtight and nothing goes wrong at any stage in that project. The Real Deal Naija podcast, you'll agree with me, is very rich. On this platform, you get facts, knowledge, you get insights that ordinarily nobody will sit you down and talk to you about. So this is your ultimate resource for real estate investment, property purchase, joint venture that we have just done justice to. There is still so much for us to delve into on this particular topic especially. So please, if you have questions, you can engage us. Our DMs are open. The comment section is very open. We are very open to taking your responses, and of course your questions can inform subsequent topics, right? Because we are committed to providing clarity on gray areas to you. Stick with us at the Real Deal Naija podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and keep commenting. Spread the word. Thread is the Real Deal Naija podcast. I'll see you on another insightful episode.